There isn't much exciting happening with the price of gold, so I thought we'd see if we can make it all the way through a no capsule video without damaging anything. I give us about a 50% chance. So this channel just hit 20,000 subscriptions and I was hoping to have something fun for that, but there just isn't a lot going on, either with the price of metals or with coin releases. Price of silver is actually dumping at the moment. I don't really talk about that here a whole lot. I kind of mentioned last year how I was done buying it for a little while. Gold, on the other hand, is more interesting to me, but there's not a lot going on right now with the price of gold either. If you consider, though, all the defensive adrenaline shots that the Fed has been injecting into the economy, well, then the prices are actually pretty strong, because had none of that happened and the economy had just been left to fend for itself, well, we would have seen a number of things, and higher prices for gold, if not silver, probably would have been one of those things. Now, it's hard to speak about direct correlations for gold and silver prices, but because both are US dollar denominated, you can assume at a minimum that a stronger dollar is going to bring the price of those metals down. And then on the flip side, a weaker dollar will bring the prices up. And there shouldn't really be any mystery there. You just can't buy as much with a weaker dollar. And regardless of where you stand personally, the markets are betting on a near-term US economic recovery. And to a certain extent, that also means that they're betting on the US dollar. So if you were to just look at it from that one perspective, the bets the markets are making mean lower prices for gold and silver. And hypothetically, you do want your domestic currency strong, and then for a few different reasons, you might want the prices of precious metals low. And to a certain extent, that's what we're seeing right now, even though it's really only based on mixed signals, forecasts, basic market sentiment. If the economy, though, does make a legitimate recovery, the prices of metals will most likely fall even further, since the bets will then be backed by actual numbers. And then on the flip of that, if the economy does the opposite, well, the reverse is probably true as well. And there are a lot of different factors at play, but I think it's worth considering the simple idea that a strong dollar buys more and a weak dollar buys less. So dollar-denominated assets will be stronger or weaker depending on that one factor. Now, the reason that this matters is simply that there is a lot of talk about how one thing or another is going to send the prices of metals up. And then when it doesn't even happen, people just move on to the next reason. Inflation is a good example of that. Basel III is a bad example of that. Because while inflation had actual data behind it, Basel III just had a few bad assumptions that people were leaning far too heavily on. But we were told that both of those were going to send the price of gold up in the short term, and neither really did. And I don't know that I need to waste any more breath on the people who've been predicting silver would shoot the moon, but there were even more predictions there that never actually amounted to anything. And not amounting to anything, or just generally speaking, not much going on with prices, isn't a bad thing. If we were looking at Bitcoin level volatility with gold, well, I guess that would be exciting, but it wouldn't be good. If we used Bitcoin's trend line and then we based that on gold's August highs, we would have seen March lows in the $900 range. And then right now, well, we'd be in the 1100s and we'd be hoping to get back above 1200, and that would be a pretty stressful ride. And I'm sure a few of you are thinking that that would be a fantastic buying opportunity, but if we were seeing that kind of volatility, a 50% drop, none of us would have much confidence right now. Anyway, I just think there's too much attention given to price predictions considering how stable gold is. Now, I enjoy hearing people explain why they think prices are going to go one way or the other, especially if those reasons are rational, but I tend to keep a running tally, and if people are constantly wrong, I simply don't want to hear from them anymore. Now, I care about the price of gold in the near-term trend because that tells me whether I should be buying more or I should be buying less at the moment. And right now, I just happen to be buying a little bit less. Like I said, there's just not a lot going on. And I don't know if it's a summer thing or what, but this kind of thing comes up every once in a while where it gets a little bit boring and I just fall back on my default plan and I don't buy a whole lot more than that. Bitcoin's been doing a little bit more lately. The past few days have been pretty interesting, and I think that that's a little bit of a reminder that cryptocurrency just isn't dead. I think we're going to continue to see a trend toward digital currencies next year in particular, and I don't know that it will be commonly used, but I think we'll see general adoption continue. Maybe that's through Bitcoin, maybe it's something else entirely, I don't know. But I think that we're going to begin to see pilot programs for digital currencies coming from central banks as well. And you might be able to ignore it for a little while, but I think that there are certain things like entitlement programs that governments could make faster or easier for people who adopt those new central bank digital currency programs. So even though I don't think that we're going to be forced into digital dollars anytime soon, and I don't think that you're going to have to use Bitcoin anytime soon, I do think we're going to be seeing more of it. And I also think that as we see more of it, we're going to see an increased interest in assets outside of that system. And that takes me back to what I was just saying. Even though the price of gold is pretty boring right now, I still want to make sure that I'm accumulating it. So really my point here is that I would like to have a certain amount of gold regardless of whether or not I think it's going to appreciate in the next few years. And if we do see a lower price on gold in that time, well, that makes it a little bit easier to buy it. Now, I don't completely discount the possibility of some kind of crisis that could send the prices of metals to the moon, but I just don't hope for it. I also don't buy this stuff based on an expectation that it's coming. If it does happen though, okay, I have it. And if I have to start over, well, this is going to help do that. I definitely think about those smaller cases though. I find myself thinking that if something bad came along, I could do certain things, and selling gold to free up a certain amount of cash is always pretty high on that list. And this is the asset I have that would be most likely to be stable and liquid and really not tied to any timing, meaning that there aren't particularly bad times to sell like I found with the markets and even with cryptocurrency for that matter. So for a lot of reasons, even when not much is going on, it's still interesting to me. Now, I wanted to do something a little bit more offbeat at the 20,000 subscriptions point, but it kind of snuck up on me. Now, I thought that I might be buying the High Relief American Liberty, the one with the bucking bronco, but that's still 3 weeks away from release. And the reason I bring that up is I have a feeling it's going to launch at $2,700, which is absolutely ridiculous, and I really need some kind of justification to buy something like that. I have a feeling my motivation there is going to wear off a little bit, and that tube of buffaloes is not filling itself. And one of the other things that I thought I might do is a live Q&A. So maybe just to kick that off, I have not picked a time yet, but if you want to get in a question, just use Q&A in the comment text, put it below, and I'll make a list. I'm going to try to get as many of those in as I can. I procrastinated on the first one because it felt a little bit awkward and maybe a little bit arrogant, but it turned out to be interesting, and I think we got in some great topics. So I think the point of this video is simply to say, hold on to your horses. The next video will be a little bit more fun, or I don't know, maybe it's the video after that. But if you have something that you want to see, let me know. I'm thinking maybe we should cut up that Type 2 eagle to show that it's not chipped. Or maybe we buy some 20 francs roosters and see if we can get people on the street to trade an article of clothing for a rooster. And now that I say these out loud, it feels more like something we do at 50,000 subscriptions. So let me know what you think, and be sure to drop in a Q&A topic if you'd like. I'll try to get to that soon. Cutting up coins on camera though, that might be a little further out. So clearly at this point I'm rambling, so if you're still here, don't hold me to any of what I just said, but thank you for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.